Award-winning professional chef and culinary nutritionist Robert Dell Amore, founder of The Power of Food, brings experience and passion when delivering his cooking demonstrations. Having presented in 22 states, including Alaska, he demonstrates nutritious and tasty ways to bolster immunity and brain health, as well as prevent obesity. As always, Chef Dell Amore aims to make his dishes salt, butter, and sugar-free. And tonight's special program will showcase delicious and nutritious baked, not fried, chicken cutlets and nuggets in half the time, and includes a 20-minute tomato sauce recipe as well. So I am going to turn it over to Chef Dell Amore. Take it away.
Thank you, Jeff.
So I'm hoping that I have now spotlighted you and everybody's seeing your image as the primary screen there.
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome Port Washington Library. My name is Dr. Chef Robert Dell Amore. It's a pleasure to be working with the wonderful Jeff Zay and Port Washington, my first program with you guys. So I'm thrilled to invite you into my home. I've got a great program for you. Not your mother's chicken cutlets and chicken nuggets, okay? I love this program. I've been making this dish for many years and have been teaching for many years as well. We're gonna get started right away with our chicken breasts. And what I hope to share with you are some ideas on saving time that I think you'll really value. You know, this is a labor of love to do this from scratch. I'm going to show you how to get it done efficiently, safely, and deliciously. What I have here is an egg that I have added a little bit of water to. This is going to be my egg wash for my cutlets and nuggets. And here is a second plastic container that I'm going to add my breadcrumbs to, okay? And I add just enough breadcrumbs to coat the bottom of this receptacle. I'm going to talk about that and demonstrate the technique, how we're going to do this in half the time, okay? So traditionally, we're going to take the cutlets, we're going to put it in the egg and then in the breadcrumbs. I'm going to show you how to do it a little faster. I'm going to use my electric skillet, electric griddle today for our cooking, and I will talk about how to bake these cutlets in the oven. In my recipe and directions sheet that I provided Jeff, I talk you through the oven, and we'll get to that in a minute, okay? But in the summer, I prefer not to use the oven, turn it on and heat up the house, and heat up the kitchen, and I really love this electric griddle, okay? And this is just, it's even heat, it's fast and easy cleanup. And I just love these, okay? I use in my demonstrations live in the libraries, the electric griddle or electric skillet. But let's get started. I'm gonna take my chicken breast here, and I just wanna show everyone what I like to demonstrate is this line of demarcation here on the breast itself. This is where the tenderloin meets the rest of the breast meat. And the tenderloin is, of course, the most tender part of the meat. If you turn it around, you can see it has a different it's different muscles in different location, in different arrangement than the rest of the breast, and it's most tender. What I like to do when I prepare my cutlets is I like to take my knife with my finger on top of the blade and pull in one easy direction backwards. Again, when you use this technique with the finger on top of the blade, now the blade is an extension of your finger. So you can just pull, and now this tenderloin is separated. Guess what we're going to use this tenderloin for? I could fillet this, but I'm going to use this for my nuggets. Okay, these are the best nuggets you've ever had. Okay, so I'm going to place this aside, and let me just show you again what I do with this breast. Now you can see that I cleaned it of all the extraneous fat. Got a little fat here. I'll get to that in just a minute. I'll just pull that away, just a vein or so. But what I'm going to look for is this line, this fascia line right here. And with my cutlet facing me, I'm sorry, my breast facing me, I can just pull through and separate the tendon. Okay, so we're going to put this aside. And the next thing I'm going to do is show you how we're going to fillet this breast. Okay. Now, this is a technique that works beautifully. You place your hand on top, and then you slice across the top of the breast. And what we're going to do is we're going to produce nice thin cutlets like this, okay? And they're going to go right in the end. Now, really critical is to not add 2 eggs to start with. It's just a time saver because we need to pull these, we need to dredge them in the eggs, get an egg coating on the cutlets and nuggets, and then pull them and put them into the breadcrumbs. Well, if we have too much egg, it's going to take too long to drip off. Okay, again, parallel to the cutting surface and parallel to my hand, you take your favorite sharp chef's knife and you produce a beautiful thin cutlet like this. And I do this all at once. This is going to really speed things up. And this is really what this program is all about tonight, showing you how to make this classic dish at home without added salt and in a very fast way. Again, just pressing down and then following, again, parallel to the cutting surface and my hand, I can produce a nice thin cutlet. Okay, this is a little bit too thin. That's fine. Okay. Now let's take this guy like this. And again, I'm going to just hold it in place. And then you notice my fingers on top of my blade again, back and forth, slicing very thinly. This allows me to produce a beautiful cutlet that's going to cook up so fast and so delicious, your family will love it. Okay. These cutlets are so good, they do not need sauce. They're delicious in a salad. Okay, they're delicious on their own. Look at how thin these are and how perfect. Okay, all going in the egg all at once. You notice this? Okay. And again, about 1/16 of an inch thick. I like them thin. If you like them a little thicker, you can slice them a little thicker. Remember, the funny looking, the funny shaped cutlets, I always used to tell my kids, they're the ones that taste the best, right? Okay, now with my my tenderloin here, I'm going to cut this across like so, about the thickness of the cutlets, maybe a little thicker. And these are going to be the most delectable nuggets you've ever had. The tenderloin of the chicken breast, most tender part, that part which attaches to the rib bone, and this is considered the most tender part of the tendon. Okay, now this is going to go here aside. This enters the egg wash after I'm done with the cutlets. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take this here. That goes away. Let me just do a quick wash here of my hands. Now, this is where it gets fun and the deliciousness starts. Okay, I'm going to add a little fresh cracked black pepper to my eggs and my cutlets. Okay, I like to season the wet part of this process. You could season the dry, the outer part, but I want this black pepper close to meat. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take this, and again, we're not doing one at a time. Okay, we're moving through this quickly so that we can get to enjoy it as fast as possible. Now, I like to do a family pack. I'll do a family pack of chicken breasts, slice them thinly, put them away. Come back the next day and maybe do my egging and bread, put it away. Come back the next day and then do the actual baking or cooking on the griddle here. So you break out your preparation and that allows you to manage your time. Okay, now when we pick up the cutlet, we always pick it up from the end, never from the middle. If we did that, it would fold over on itself. But you can see that it's dripping the egg. And it's important that we allow the egg to drip off of the cutlet so it doesn't clump up our cutlets, okay? So I can't stand waiting for egg to drip off of a cutlet, a piece of chicken here. So I came up with this little trick to save time, and this is, I hope that you'll appreciate this time-saving tip. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take our next one, and as it's dripping, again, you notice I picked it up from the end. As it's dripping, I'm going to take this high wall Tupperware container. It's plastic, very light. That's what's key about this. And just shake it, and this cutlet is done. So this finished dripping, so now I can just take this cutlet right out, and it's good to go. Okay, and I like to use Tupperware tops as cutting boards. They give me a rim to contain liquids. In this case, it's firm. I can, when I transfer it over here, I really love the Tupperware tops as a cutting board idea. Okay, again, I picked it up from the end. I let it drip, and as it's dripping, with the other hand, I'm shaking. And this is so cool because you do not even have to flip this chicken. It's done. Just goes right there, okay? So again, I wait until I pick up my next one, let it drip, and as it's dripping, I'm shaking, and the high walls of this plastic container prevents the breadcrumbs from getting all over the place, okay? When it's done, it goes right in, and you're gonna see how fast I can do these two breasts with the egging and breading, okay? As it's dripping, I'm shaking. If you use something like ceramic or something heavier, you can do it on the table much better with a Tupperware. You don't have a Tupperware this large, you can use a smaller one. It works just as well as long as the ingredients can, the chicken can fit there, okay? Okay, I just happen to love this size. It gives me a little room on both sides for two pieces. Again, as it's dripping, I'm shaking, and literally in 2 seconds, it's breaded. You could do this with eggplant. This is the technique I came up with, and this is why I call it not your mother's chicken cutlets. Okay, as it's dripping, I'm shaking, literally 2 seconds. It's breaded on both sides. I can take this cutlet and place it there. So again, moving through with ease and efficiency and safety, okay? Really important to remember that you can manage your time in the kitchen with the preparation. You don't have to prep everything and cook it that day. You can prep it and use your refrigerator. Refrigerate it overnight and then continue preparing or cook your meals, okay? The next day or later that day. Well, later on in the weekend. Okay, this is done. So this guy goes right in and here. Okay. So again, if I had added 2 eggs to this bowl, even when you're doing a lot of chicken, you only want to add 1 egg at a time. So you're not waiting forever for this egg to drip off this cup. Okay. This is a pretty reasonable time on me. Okay. I've got these little guys here. They're going to go right in. Now, once I'm done, the cutlets get dumped right in. They go right in, and we swish them around. Maybe give it a little shot of black pepper. Any other spices you'd like to add, some dry oregano or basil can go in here right now, and it really brings a nice flavor to this dish, okay? Let's get these guys out of here on our tray here. Once these are nice and coated, they're going to go right in like breadcrumbs. Okay, it's again important to mention to you, remind you, only to fill up the breadcrumbs so they're covering the bottom of the container. If you fill it up halfway or a third and they get clumped up, you have to throw them out. Okay, and we don't want that. I prefer to just use the enough breadcrumbs to cover the bottom, and then it keeps them contained. And you can see that these are done. Literally takes seconds. I recently did this program at Comac Live for about 40 individuals. It was pre-pandemic, of course. And during that presentation, I asked my audience, who has been making chicken cutlets for 10 years? And I had a room full of people. Who has been making cutlets for 20 years? I had another 10 people raise their hands. Who's making cutlets for 30 years? I had 5 women in the back row. They all came up to me at the end and said they'd never seen this technique, the shaping of the breadcrumbs like this. You can put this in a bag and baggie and do it that way. This is so much easier. The cleanup cannot be easy. Look at these nuggets. These are going to be delectable. So I'm actually going to keep these in here for now. Now, if we were going to use the oven to bake these, which is my favorite way to do that, to cook them, we would just use a little bit with a very thin nipple here, a little canola oil or olive oil on our tray. I don't use a brush, just something else to wash. I prefer to just add just enough to cover the bottom of the tray. You're going to see I'm going to do the same thing on the skillet, just enough to cover the bottom. We're not frying them, we're just sauteing them. And this tray is going to go in the on the bottom level in my oven, the bottom tray in my oven. So we have 2 trays. Again, I'm typically going to do enough chicken to use at least 2 trays at once. So I'm maximizing my time. I'm maximizing the heat of that oven. The first tray always goes on the bottom level. Okay. The second tray will go on the top. And once they're finished cooking on one side on the bottom, I'm going to take them out and flip them and put them back in. Once they're done, then I take the tray from the upper level and I put it on the bottom, and then I'll put a third tray in on top. So always use your lower level first, okay? The oven's going to be at 400. If you're not comfortable with 400, you want to work with 350, 375, that's fine too. I like to move through it quickly. Now, the problem with baking the white meat, the breast, is that it can dry out. It can overcook easily. So you really do have to watch the oven. You have to test. How do you know when to flip? So a simple answer is when you see the breadcrumbs that have fallen onto the tray, they start to brown a little bit. You'll know that that is now browning on the bottom side of the cutlets, and you flip them. Okay, and you're going to cook them another 3 or 4 minutes on the other side and pull them out. You really want to err on the side of undercooking them a little bit. If you put them in a container and seal it, they'll continue to cook through. They'll be nice and juicy, and they won't be overcooked. Okay, that's why everyone likes to cook them on the stove. But I never ever fry and cook on the stove in a pan and just keep replacing the oil. I don't do it. Okay, so then for our next thing, what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our skillet, and I'm going to add a little canola oil here. And this is how I like to add it, just enough to cover the bottom. Okay, I don't use a brush. It's just something else you have to clean and soak, and it's oily, and I just try to avoid it. Okay, let me move this over a little bit. And again, if I didn't have time, if you don't have time to do this, you can take this and put saran wrap on it, put it in the refrigerator, and do this the next day. It's fine. Or if you're having company and you want to prepare this the day of, you have it already breaded and egged and breaded, ready to go. I mean, this is chicken color perfection right here. Now, another little trick, I like to use a plastic fork. It's not going to scratch my Teflon surface. Okay, just a little plate here. Okay, so the oil is going to help brown the cutlets. It's going to brown the breadcrumbs. It's going to come out perfect. The kitchen in the house just smells heavenly. It's a meal for the ages, and I think you're going to agree it's a winner. Okay, so I'm going to take these and I'm going to place them around the perimeter first, and one at a time, and you need to keep them spaced apart. Same thing on the tray. You don't want them touching, because when you flip them, if they're touching, one will be connected to the other and you'll have a mess. You just want to keep a little space in between. Okay. So I'm going to place these here on my skillet, and we're going to get a sizzle in just a minute. So can I fit these all in here? I don't think so. Do is just place this guy here. Now, another little trick. Unlike the stovetop, where the center of the pan is hottest, the tray in the oven is hottest in the corners and on the edges. So if you have any pieces that are thicker than others, they're going to go in the corners or on the sides. Just a little trick, okay? Speed it up and make the cooking even and perfect, okay? Remember, it's totally opposite from the stovetop. The heat is coming from below and coming around the edges, so your thicker pieces towards the sides or the corners. And everyone's oven is different. You have hot spots. The back might be hotter than the front. One side may be hotter than the other. Okay, so we've got a sizzle going here a little bit. Rather than use my metal fork or a metal pair of tongs, I'm going to use a plastic fork. And these work pretty well. They don't scratch, easy to clean. I use this to make my scrambled eggs in the morning, my omelets. It really works well, and I keep them close to my stove. Okay, now what I like to do when I do this program live, and especially with kids, I ask them, how do you know when it's ready to flip? And what the answer is we need to look at the edges that start to turn a little whiter than the center. The edge is going to cook a little faster. And what I love to see is their face when we flip it, because it's chicken color perfection. Caramelized, it's not caramelized, but it's caramel color, a nice brown color to the cutlets. And remember, when you slice them thinly like this, they're delectable on the palate, in a salad, with chicken parmesan, with mozzarella cheese and pasta. These are going to be turned in no time, okay? While I'm waiting, what I'm going to do is I see that I have a little bit of some bare spots here on my cutlets for breadcrumbs. So I just take a forkful, place it on. Now, if I had room on my tray or on my skillet, my griddle, I would add my nuggets, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cook them next. But these are, this is cooking nicely. I have it on 400 here. Okay. And again, the beauty of the electric skillet is it's even heat. And look at the surface area. This is a large surface area. You can never cook this many cutlets in a pan on the stovetop. The other beauty of the electric utensils is the ease of the cleanup. So easy. Okay, so this is starting to whiten on the edges. And I think that if you do try this recipe, you will include it in your weekly or monthly or bi-monthly meals, because it's such a winner. Straight protein, very low cholesterol. Okay, I'm going to take this like this. This guy's going to go like this. By the way, I'm using Italian seasoning, Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. You could use Italian with plain or just plain. You can make your own breadcrumbs. A little trick: day-old or 2-day-old bagels make the best, finest, lightest breadcrumbs you've ever had. Check it out. You're just going to need to break them up, put them in the oven, cook them up, make them really hard, and then you put them in a food processor. Okay, look at this guy here. I'm going to take this here. Huh. Okay. So again, because they're sliced nice and thinly, they're going to be so delicious. We want to make sure we don't overcook them. And what's really great, you can see the color of these cutlets. They're just gorgeous. What's nice is well, what you want to prevent is too thick a cutlet. It could be nice and browned on the outside, but inside it's not cooked through fully, and that's going to be a fail. Okay, so when you slice thinly, and these cutlets have a kind of feel to them once you do this. You can just poke the fork and you know that the cutlet is done. Okay, they're done. They're going to go right on this plate here. And again, I don't want to overcook them. They're sliced nice and thinly. They cook pretty fast, okay? So we're going to take these guys like this. These bigger ones, I'm going to keep them cooking a little bit longer. And I'm going to introduce my nuggets. So I'm going to place these right on my griddle here. So delicious. I love to do a family pack in one session, one prep session, and maybe come back and finish cooking them. And then I always freeze these, and I have them to defrost and then put in a salad, or just have it with a sauce that I make, and you have a meal like that. Okay, so these guys are done. You can see that once I finished cutting, filleting thinly the chicken, I didn't touch the meat. The fork touches the meat only, and this allows us to move fast. We don't have to keep washing our hands. And don't forget these guys over here, right? Okay. You notice I use so little oil, right? Okay, I've got this on high. This guy's going to come over here. He's done. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, guys. Look at this. Okay, one or two of these and I'm done. Again, straight protein. Okay, and you're going to see, I use my eye to see and check the perimeter. If it starts to whiten, that means it's starting to turn. Oh my God, that's going to be delicious, that one. Okay, and then I will turn them. We could add a little bit of oil if we wanted to. Just going to help speed up the process, give us a little bit of flavor around the breadcrumbs, okay? But you notice it's very, very little oil. I added no salt to this. There is some salt in the breadcrumbs. Okay. Let's get these guys. Okay, so the nuggets are just delicious because they're cooked perfectly, they're cut perfectly, they're seasoned perfectly, and now we're going to cook them perfectly. Okay, don't want to overcook these guys. Okay, you can move through this fast. Okay, you see when I turn them, they're nice brown, they're not burnt, and oh my God, these are going to be so good. Again, the cardinal rule is not to overcook the white meat. It's really the difference between a good chef and a great chef. Is always cooking that white meat perfectly every time. Okay. So I used to love when my mother used to make this dish. The house just smelled amazing. It's a festive meal, but it can really be a go-to meal for you during the week with your kids, or your family, or yourself, and definitely on the weekend with a salad, some homemade sauce, which we're going to talk about in just a minute as well. Okay, These guys are done. So this is going to come like this. This extra breadcrumb is going to go in there. This will go away. And these guys are done. Again, the plastic fork is a great little addition to have. So easy to clean. It's lightweight. You notice it. You're not going to bend it from the heat because it's really not touching the heat. Okay. What I'd like you to notice is how fast this is cooking. Okay. Cooking it all the way through to 165. And again, I know by just pressing through when that cutlet's done. If there's resistance, it's not done. If there's no resistance, that is fully cooked. Okay, I'm going to shut this off, let this finish cooking, this thicker one here. And what about the cleanup here? I could add some water to this and keep it on, and it'll lift up this grizzle perfectly. I'll wipe it off with a paper towel, literally a paper towel. This guy's done here. This guy is perfectly done here. It's going to go right there. Now, what I'd like to do is show you what this looks like. Take a look at this. Who doesn't want to dive into this? Who doesn't want to have this in the refrigerator? Come home from work and you know that you have this ready to rock, okay? So easy. You see my countertop, my table, it's clean. It's not a mess. This is the goods right here. Okay, let's talk about a red sauce, which I included with this program, 20-minute red sauce. Okay, 2 cans of tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, whole peeled plum tomatoes. It's your choice. In my direction sheet and recipe sheet, I mentioned that I love 1 can of crushed to 1 can of peeled plum. And the peeled plum is, of course, the plum tomato that's been peeled and it's whole. It's called whole peeled plum tomato. Always try to buy a couple of cans of those as well as the crushed. I don't buy diced tomatoes too much. I never buy paste. I never buy tomato sauce in the can. I prefer to make it myself. So easy. 2 cans, 1 crushed, 1 whole peeled plum. The whole peeled plum goes in my NutriBullet for exactly 3 seconds. So it pulverizes the pulp, it froths it up. It's incredible. It adds so much flavor to the crushed. So 2 cans, for 2 cans of tomato, I'm going to use 2 to 3 cloves of garlic minced in a pot. So the first thing I do when I'm making sauce is get my large sauce pot and add enough oil to the bottom of the pan, maybe 2 tablespoons. Then I will turn up my heat and mince the garlic, 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. That's going in my oil. Now, what's critical when you're making the sauce is not to burn the garlic, and it will burn fast. So I like to take the pot off and just swish it around. So you're flavoring the oil with the garlic. And this is what's going to bring big flavor to the tomato. Okay, so I take it off the flame, let it flavor the oil, goes back on the flame. I add 2 cans of tomato. For 2 cans, I will use 2 bay leaves, some dry basil, and I do like to add some dry oregano to my marinara sauce. Traditionally, oregano is only used in a pizza sauce. I just love the flavor of dry oregano, so I like to include it in my marinara sauce. I put it on high, let it come to a boil, and then I shut it down to low and let it simmer, and in 20 minutes, your house smells amazing. There's a transformation that occurs after 15 or 20 minutes where the tomato is really getting infused with that garlicky oil, olive oil, and then you have the spices kicking in as well. So again, some dry oregano, basil, some fresh cracked black pepper. I never measure anything. And lastly, 2 bay leaves for 2 cans of tomatoes. I don't add salt or sugar to the sauce. If I feel that the tomato is not that sweet, maybe I'll add a little sugar, but I don't think I've ever done that. If it needs salt to taste, you add a little salt. I find that the black pepper and basil and oregano works. Makes it beautiful sauce. So 20 minutes in the pot, the sauce is done. We could put this on top of this and make an eggplant chicken parmesan hero, or serve it with pasta. I made some sauce, and I have some pasta here that I am going to prepare for dinner. And let me show you how I like the plate mix. Very simple. Gonna come here like so. I'm going to take my pasta here and just plate it. Okay. And I love to add the pasta to a heated pot of sauce, so you really get the sauce on all of the pasta. It's the proper way to serve it. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to move through this. You see my bay leaf in here. I'm going to remove this. This is a sauce I made yesterday. It's going to go right on top. If you're busy and getting home from work late and want to prepare this, all you need to do is take a cutlet or two. What about these nuggets? How about here? Look, everyone in my family always fights over the nuggets. They're so delicious. I could add a little cheese to this. Instead, I'm just going to add a little bit of sauce. And this chicken is so good, it doesn't even need this sauce. It really doesn't. Well, this is it, guys. Doesn't get any better than this. A meal for the ages. Chicken cutlets and chicken nuggets to die for. I taught you a quick way to save time with the Tupperware container, shaking the breadcrumbs on literally seconds. I think it's a real time saver, real game changer. Super healthy, super nutritious, freezes well, defrosts well, and you can have it and serve it to your family anytime you like. That's it for me. I'm going to check out now and say peace and thank you. Chicken cutlets and chicken nuggets to die for, Dr. Dell Amore.